So today I want to talk about failure, or more specifically, how to get over it. Now when I talk about failure, I mean this in kind of the broadest sense possible. And so for me, it's been getting rejected from multiple med schools, but it could also mean getting rejected by a girl, or not getting a job, or maybe life is just really stagnant and you feel like you're failing to meet the expectations you set for yourself. Now this hasn't been a super crushing issue for me per se, but it's been kind of a really constant weight that's been kind of dragging me down. And it's something that I've noticed not just in myself, but in a lot of the people around me. And so to the few people who watch this, I hope that this is relatable and that at least helps a little bit. Now when it comes to overcoming failure, the two most common pieces of advice that always come up are do things that make you happy and learn from your mistakes and move on. And I think in tandem, those are probably the two best pieces of advice to give, but they're a little non-specific, so I wanted to go in depth with those a little bit more. When someone's going through a rough time, I think a very natural thing to do is to try and console them and then encourage them to do things like praying, eating, drawing, or whatever it takes to help them kind of overcome that sadness as soon as possible. But I want to take a step back from there first and encourage you to just kind of be sad, be angry. Now some people are really naturally good at overcoming rejection, getting up on their feet right away and just kind of moving on. And that's you, that's great. Go ahead and move to step 2. But there's an equal amount of people who take rejection very hard. And I'm willing to bet there's an even greater amount of people who try to internalize their feelings and act strong when really they're suffering a lot inside. And so you're one of those two types of people. I want to really encourage you again to just sulk a little bit. It's okay. Now obviously at some point you gotta suck it up, right? Just lying around the house and being sad, listening to sad music or whatever isn't gonna really get you anywhere. But you can't really move on without really acknowledging what just happened, how you're feeling, and if you're willing to do it again despite knowing how you feel right now. If you're unable to reflect on the situation and really accept all the things that come after that, then you're not really overcoming that issue. You're just ignoring a huge part of your life while you're trying to start something new. And then what happens? Not only do you not learn anything, you end up being increasingly unmotivated, and you end up with all these pent-up feelings that just kind of build up to make it more difficult for you to overcome the next obstacle, and then one after that one, and then one after that one, until eventually you have so much pent-up feelings, pent-up frustration and anger that you end up breaking down at the most minor inconvenience. So again, it is really important to be able to do things that make you calm and happy, but before you do that, I think it's really important to also just sit down and feel a little bit. After you've accepted the situation that you're in, the next thing that people always tell you to do is to learn from your mistakes and move on. But how exactly do you do that? The biggest piece of advice I can give in regards to that is to talk to someone. I think a lot of people, especially children of immigrants, are really hesitant to talk about their feelings because they always think, oh, my parents went through this to get here, or this person went through so much, the same thing I'm doing, and they're not complaining as much as I am. But you have to realize that there's so much to learn from having a conversation, and misery isn't a competition. Just because someone's going through something doesn't make your own suffering any that much less important. Emotionally speaking, having a conversation about someone and talking about your struggles not only helps you vent off a lot of your own stress, but also helps someone else vent off a lot of theirs. And practically speaking, not only are you learning a lot about what you see as your own strengths and weaknesses throughout the conversation, you're seeing how other people see you as well. And especially if it's someone close to you, you're learning things like strengths that you're portraying to this person that you didn't necessarily show to your employer or your admissions committee or whatever, and vice versa, right? You're learning about weaknesses that you may have portrayed that your employer or admissions committee or whoever, but you didn't necessarily show to the people around you naturally. And I guess going back to having immigrant parents, if you're speaking to someone older than you, and especially someone like an immigrant parent who's been through so much, they're gonna have a lot of wisdom and life experience to share. They're gonna know how to overcome obstacles in life way more than your best friend or your younger cousin or whatever. They may not be the best at explaining these things, but you at least have something to gain from listening to them talk. Now I guess putting it all together, do things that make you happy and that make you calm. But first, really take time to just take a step back and really acknowledge how you're feeling. And learn from your mistakes and move on, but know that you don't have to do that by yourself. Now, I say all these things, but at the end of the day, I am a childless young adult who's speaking to a camera alone in his room after feeling a little sad. not being accepted to med school yet. So take what I say with a grain of salt, I guess. Or maybe even what I'm saying isn't even anything new. But like I said earlier, these are issues that I'm seeing amongst myself and amongst some people very close to me in my community that I'm not really necessarily seeing being talked about amongst my community, right? And so if anything, I hope these videos act as a catalyst to help start these conversations and to help people kind of overcome things in your communities. So thanks for watching. See you next time. Deuces.